Good evening. Time check and date check. It's the 2nd of May 2013, Thursday. The time is 20:44 hours, coming up to 9:15 in the evening. Hopefully you can see that bright light. This has been a rather extraordinary evening. I made a recording half an hour ago, which, because of the inability of the video camera, or this camera with a video setting, still camera with video setting, to be able to pick up what was happening in the sky, I've given a verbal commentary which I'll probably just keep for my own diary note. But in brief, related the fact that last night was also a two-part video night, where the earlier part, in daylight or dusk light, we had a number of UFO planes very clearly seen in the sky through binoculars, but not picked up by the video. The sunlight glistening off their apparently aluminium hulls, and I'm just looking at the camera, just eyepiece, just making sure that that light has been picked up. It does seem to be. I hope we're not getting a blurred sort of image there. This camera does seem to pick up the lights much better once darkness falls, and you get the contrast between the light and the dark background. So also last night we had the AWACS plane approaching the lights, and then a Chinook helicopter, very clearly seen in the binoculars, very distinctive shape, very common around here because it flies patrols in the Aldermaston area. The lights didn't, or the planes rather, didn't seem to take much notice. They carried on, but after a while they did disappear, predominantly flying off to the left, to the north. Half an hour or so later, when darkness was about to fall and into darkness, they were back, and that is the video that I put on YouTube last night. Today, an hour or so ago, again in daylight, the light given by the setting sun, we had the extraordinary happening of a UFO plane identical to those seen last night, quite high up in the sky, sunlight glinting off it, tail looking pink in the sunlight, and a parachutist coming down. One of these very manoeuvrable parachutes with an upward curve and a black blob hanging from it, which I took to be the parachutist. And I thought, well, there's no way that large jet flying above him can have been his jumping off point. And a few minutes later there was what appeared to be a parachutist's plane came close. A flimsy looking contraption, widespread black wings, a small body hanging from them, small body of a small plane hanging from them, and what appeared to be a second parachutist, although it could have been the first one, because he was in the air, that light just appearing now behind the tree. He was in the air for such a long time, right from the gathering point for some minutes, until he had come, I would suggest, to perhaps as close as Greenham Common. I lost sight of him behind the trees. There could have been a second one near the Greenham Common area, it could have been the first one arriving there. But what I was amazed was, as you can see from the almost nil movement of the high branches of the trees, that he could have stayed in the air so long as to be able to cover possibly 2 or 3 miles without coming down to earth. and of course rather amazing that that jump should have happened, and he should be descending right in line with the gathering point. So whether that was coincidence, I don't know, and I've certainly never seen parachutists jump in this area before. So why they chose 7 o'clock in the evening, that light just appeared then quite high above the fir tree. Why they chose this evening to do that, I have no idea, unless because over him was the high-flying plane which had every similarity to last night's UFO planes, whether it was a ruse to persuade them not to fly by simply putting an obstacle in their path. In which case it was very brave of whoever the parachutist was. So after that earlier excitement, we're now getting back to our normal activity. Through binoculars I can pretty well see double headlights very close together, plane banking slightly, turning to our right. Can't see any navigation lights, nothing twinkling on wingtips. Oh, second light just appeared above the left hand fir tree. Quite obviously it's the flicking of a switch and putting on main beam. So they appear to materialise out of nowhere, and similarly when they turn it off they appear to dematerialise into nowhere. So just that one bright light still visible. I don't know what happened to the second one. I can't see any headlights, I can't see any navigation lights, I can't see any outline of the body of the plane where that one was previously to the left of the bright light. So the bright light now turning towards Aldermaston, headlights still visible. Oh, beneath him another light. I was going to say, is it the one that disappeared a few moments ago? It's possible, but it's heading the wrong way. So possibly it's a third one. So you see it disappears behind the tree, and the other one is lost behind tree foliage heading towards Aldermaston. I don't really think it would be that beneficial to have a good zoom camera, because I've seen them very clearly through the binoculars, and you really wouldn't think you're looking at anything other than a conventional plane when you see them sideways on. But when you see one bank at 90 degrees to the ground, as I have done, in what should, I think, technically be an impossible manoeuvre, and you see them silhouetted against the sky in daylight, as if you were up above a plane looking down on its wings and its upper body structure, and there's absolutely no sign of any engine pods, then you have to wonder what it is that you're looking at. Particularly when the wings that you're looking at give the appearance of two arcs. If you could imagine a crossbow, long straight body, two arcing cross pieces, and a stubby nose projecting in front, with no sign when seen from the 90-degree angle of tail fins sticking out sideways, and then you wonder if what you're looking at is a cut out circle In other words, a circular craft cloaked over parts of its body so that what you do see has the appearance of a plane. Or is that just fantasizing? No lights visible present, which is usually the signal for something to materialise. Oh yeah, there's one just coming over the right hand, the larger fir tree, turning right. Looking through the viewfinder, I can't see anything, but sometimes it is being picked up and appears on the computer screen. Now he's put his lights on, and below him and to his right is a second one, which hopefully you can see is just above the group of street lights. So there are actually two bright lights burning at the moment in the self-same gathering point that we have so often seen them before. A matter of some hundreds of times. The weather today has been beautiful. The sky has been pretty well cloudless all day and windless, and is exactly the sort of condition where you think you're bound to see the lights. Having said which, it is sometimes equally cloudless and they don't appear. You might get a run of them for days, or in the past for weeks on end, and then nothing for weeks. So that one pretty obviously over the right hand fir tree at the moment. Seen through binoculars, what appear to be very close together double headlights, or a single headlight with a thin black strip covering the upper half. Now let's get that right. Possibly a thin black strip which starts at the top of the light and goes halfway down it. But very difficult when you're looking into intense white beams to just work that out. Now just take our eye over towards Aldermaston for a moment, because there is one between the chimney and the tree. No doubt one of the ones we've been looking at. When at the other end of the circuit. See how motionless he was for a while. And whilst looking at him, I've been looking at the bright light over the gathering point, which is now faded, although it is still there when seen through binoculars. Let's go back to that gathering point. Try and put the camera in its usual place so we can get I'm going to lower it slightly so we have the recognition of the street lamps. So no lights present at the moment, other than street lamps, which are not particularly exciting. Unless you happen to be out in the dark, in which case they're dashed useful. But who goes out in the dark in this country these days? Unless they're in a heavily armed vehicle. Now, is that a light just appearing? Or an MP surrounded by bodyguards of police, of course. Now, yes, that appears to be... I can dimly make out through binoculars quite a large shape, which is not a surprise because we know that there is a large shape behind the light, because we see the light materialize into a plane at dawn and dusk. What is perhaps a bit surprising that with the light conditions we've got at present that we could see it there. Can we see that just behind the chimney, the Aldermaston direction? We move the camera a little more. It's one of those occasions when I can see it with the eye because my head's in a slightly different place. Well, he is there. But is he going to pop out? I think he's probably popped in, gone the opposite way. In which case we may see him come out the other side of the chimney in a minute. No lights present at the moment. No, no lights present. You can possibly hear burning sounds, just to reassure you that somebody in a garden there has a garden bonfire. Back to where we were. Oh, just in time, see him pop out. Now catch him in that angle between chimney and roof and tell me whether that's motionless. Because there's only two possibilities. It's motionless or it's flying directly towards us. My money is on it being pretty well motionless. It's happened too often and it's never arrived here. I can see he's just peeping over the top of the chimney. There we are. There he goes, and at the same time, and is it by coincidence, the light has just appeared over the gathering point. I have to wonder if there's an element of signalling here. What you're looking at is a plane supposedly travelling at about 150 to 200 miles an hour. Now, over the gathering point, if conventional aviation is what we're looking at, there's two lights, which should also be travelling at very high speed, but I would say just hanging about. Waiting for the off. And there's the signal, the light that we see at the opposite end of the circuit. Again, I can dimly make out the silhouette of a black shape. I couldn't give it a form. The headlights off, of course, now. Flashing navigation lights, sometimes red, mainly white. Passed quite close to the second one. So we've got one going right towards Aldermaston and one going left. Just easing his way over the gathering point. I can see him through binoculars. I'm not sure that the camera can. He has a red light in the position of the tail, White light, of course, on the front is the predominant light, but no flashing navigation white light, no flashing green light, and no blue light as we sometimes see. Now he is literally hanging there. What planes do we know that can just hang in the sky? And we can rule out helicopters. It simply is not the right shape. Well, we have vertical takeoff planes, which make an enormous noise. Might do it once or twice, but I defy them to hang around for minutes on end, and for a whole swarm of them to do it at the same time, maybe 4 or 5 or more, as we have seen, in a very compact area of sky, very close to very large conurbation of Reading and some 600,000 plus people. There's a little flashing light overflying that bigger light. I think it's probably a conventional plane quite high up, which in a sense demonstrates just how low down these lights are that we are interested in. Now as he takes off to the right, what appeared to be the flashing light that overflew him has now turned and is going left. I don't think the camera can pick this up, and is now heading for the edge of the block of flats to about almost at their highest roof level. So he did a very marked U-turn. So the one we can see now between the 2 fir trees, white headlights. Oh, of course there's a second one on the other side of the fir tree now. The one to the left, white headlights getting stronger. There is actually another high-flying conventional plane, I take it to be, twinkling along above the roof line of the corner of the flats. Oh, and another one has now just arrived from behind the flats, as if it might be the one that did the U-turn, having come back again. So we've got the 2, one per fir tree, and overflying the left-hand one, plane flashing white lights mainly, an occasional red light. Maybe a conventional plane. He's not on the right circuit for the UFO lights. He's much higher than they are. He's going faster than they do. So I think he's strayed into their territory. So the one on the left with the brighter headlight now, you can distinctly see, actually he's just been overflown by a navigation light, white and red. Oh, he's got bright headlights, hasn't he? But as he dims them, I expect to be able to see his wing navigation lights, and I'm not seeing them. I'm seeing a flashing white light, which I think is on his tail, now red as well. And the other one disappears behind the left-hand fir tree. There's none others in the sky, nothing over towards Aldermaston. It isn't to say they're not there, it just means that we can't see them because they haven't got their lights on. So we've got that one with the left hand fir tree. Above him, as high above the fir tree as he is below the top of the fir tree, is a twinkling light going left. Oh, decided to make himself known, putting his headlight on. Because approaching him has materialised a second one. So one per fir tree now. So one sets off towards Aldermaston as the other one takes up station at the gathering point. Overflying all of this activity, I don't know if you can pick it up, there is a conventional plane. I don't know whether we'll be able to see that or whether it matters even, except perhaps it does demonstrate that if you were an air traffic controller at Heathrow and you were directing planes in this direction, if you were aware of this low flying activity with at least 2 planes there at the moment, 2 UFO lights, would you not tell your conventional planes to take some route which gave a wide berth of this area? So the light we can see has just been overflown by a flashing navigation light, white and red, presumably conventional as it's on a straight line course away from our route. So our light fast approaching the edge of the block of flats. No, he's turned, he's heading right, but his headlights on. I can see white navigation lights, and I thought I saw a red one on the left wing as I look at it. Certainly no green. Now I can only see white, one to each side of the headlights. As he turns, I would say he doesn't bank. There's no tilt. He appears to be flying on a pretty even keel. So the second one appeared from behind the fir tree. So they approach each other. A little wave out of the window there, no doubt. I'm off now, he says. Aldermaston's the place for me. While the other one looks this way and says, "Who's that pointing a ruddy camera at me?" Headlights blazing. Why put your headlights on like that? Are they headlights? Is it some sort of engine exhaust? If so, why is it to the front and not to the back? And why does it need to be on all the time? Is he attracting attention deliberately so as to distract from the sight of the one which is headed off towards Aldermaston? Another one just approaching, coming over the top. The right hand fir tree, heading for that light. He's turned. I would say that the one which has just overflown him is conventional. A regular series of flashes of white and red light. In fact, I rather think I can hear it. Very widely spaced lights. But I can't see any shape to it. And I do have some light in the sky through the binoculars. I would expect to be able to see. I expect the sky at least to be blotted out between the lights. But it's not. Now he's pointed directly towards us, so if he's conventional he has little choice but to get closer. Now I believe he's banked quite steeply. He's going right towards Aldermaston. Now that is a banking manoeuvre. It was quite obvious from the way that the lights tipped. One became quite higher than the other, that he banked. That isn't a manoeuvre that we see on the UFO planes. They appear to be able to turn with the slightest of banking. So they're probably handbrake turns. So the only light visible at the moment is a faint twinkling light heading for the right hand fir tree. Yes, I think I was saying earlier on that this little pointing, there's a light just appearing now behind this foliage above the street lamps. A little pointing away in having good photographs of these, because you would simply say, well, yeah, it's a plane. It's really the pattern that gives them away, the route, the closeness together in the air, the slowness, and sometimes the way they just hang there. Why would any conventional plane or military plane sit there flashing its headlights as that one is doing now? What possible reason would it do that? So there's three now. The one bright one and to his right on either side of a chimney, two dim lights. Of course we know that dim lights over Aldermaston sat in that gap between chimney and tree. Now the very same looking headlights which we've seen so often before over the gathering point, and facing this way. Oh, and as usual not getting any closer. Over the gathering point, the two lights that were there are getting, the one's disappeared, the other is pretty faked. Pretty imperceptible motion, the one we're looking at, isn't it? Is that 150, 200 miles an hour in flying towards us from a distance of, I would suggest, certainly not more than 12 miles away. Two over the gathering point. not burning brightly, but they are there. So he's gone. Just for comparison, is the camera going to pick up what I take to be a conventional plane there? That's headed in the Heathrow direction. You can see the two white lights, and I can occasionally see a red light. He's a good bit higher than our UFO lights, but he's not particularly high. Can you make out the tree line or where he is? Possibly not. What we were looking at is, I just caught a glimpse of him behind that tree. So presumably he's still got his headlights on. I think there's also a house roof behind that tree. Oh, there he was. Over the gathering point there is still one light visible, not too brightly, but let's stay with the one by the tree and let's see if oh, is that him? It's because he shot out pretty quickly. Oh, I don't believe it was him. I've no doubt they are very capable of moving extremely fast, it's just they choose not to. In this situation, no doubt not to call attention to themselves, or possibly because what they're doing calls for slow flight, whatever it is that they're doing. Well, I'll keep an eye on the tree in case that wasn't him emerging. Over the gathering point, there we are. Nice pair of headlights, as they used to say on saucy seaside postcards. Through the binoculars, double headlights very close together, creating a halo of light extending out some way, but not pointing forward in a beam. As they dim, navigation lights are either seen or switched on, only white as he turns towards Aldermaston. No other lights visible in the sky at the moment. We've now been filming for 37 minutes. Can I commend you on your attention towards Aldermaston on either side of a tree. One burning brightly facing us, the other one heading for it, I think. And over the gathering points, the one we were looking at is just left and is heading towards Aldermaston. So there's actually going to be quite a crowd of them on the route. Ooh. Those two are close together, aren't they? One passing behind the other, or over the other rather. The one on top has forward-facing headlights and a white light blinking on his tail. The lower one seems to be a bit undecided as to what to do. So he's just hanging there at the moment. Non-visible over the gathering point. Oh. Can you see two? Like so, just fitting in to the viewfinder. The right hand one's very close to a tree on its left. The left hand one just facing us but dimming his light somewhat, to the extent that I can see white only navigation lights to left and right of the headlights. The one to the right is now, I can make him out dimly. Actually, what I can make out are a pair of, the camera's not going to pick it up, I'm afraid. That's the one that went to the left. The one that went to the right, all I could see were a pair of lights, navigation lights, very widely spaced. In fact, it's now turning, keeping the camera on the one that the camera can actually see, but through binoculars. The second one, white lights, widely spaced, with a red light flashing between them, which is possibly the one on the tail that we usually see. Right, so that one's going behind a tree. Nothing over the gathering point, but I'll turn the camera that way so at least there's something to focus on. Even if it is only street lamps. I wonder if our activity is coming to an end now, because half an hour, 3/4 of an hour is quite often a cycle of activity which may resume later on. Maybe that's as long as they give it, thinking that anything longer than that is going to attract attention. Or attract more attention than we're giving it. No lights visible at present. Oh, tell a lie, one pair has just arrived over the left-hand street lamps. Well, it was there, now I can't see it. Just flickering lights, navigation lights. I'm not seeing any anywhere. Oh, yeah, it just disappeared between the right-hand, behind the right-hand fir tree. Just navigation lights. So no flaring headlights. No, nothing in fact. Oh, yeah, there he goes. Emerging behind a chimney, just a little flash of navigation light. No attempt to disrupt the excuse me, pattern by Chinooks or AWACS as far as I'm aware. Always bearing in mind that one of those sets of lights could have been an AWACS plane, but I certainly doubt it. Certainly not the ones that were stationary in the sky. Or it'd be a very crumpled AWACS lying on the ground. Well, where have they gone? One has to ask oneself. And the answer is, all that's visible at the moment of the gathering point, a dimly seen light just about to go behind the right hand fir tree. Oh, another one just come in over the left hand fir tree heading towards the other light. I must admit the higher one of the two that's headed right looks very conventional, flashing lights, white with intermittent red, a good deal higher than our friend's flight path. So I think he's just strayed into that area of the sky. Well, not strayed into it, have been directed into it by air traffic control. Just to show you what an actual plane looks like. Can we see up here? No, that's not it, that was a skylight. There we are, that's a plane approaching. That's what it looks like. Widely spaced headlights. Red flashing navigation light. Holding this tripod at a most peculiar angle, so if it's a bit shaky, do excuse me, let me put it down. Now if we go back to the gathering point, We just missed the light disappearing behind trees. I'm just keeping an eye on that plane we were looking at. No, I think he's simply on course to land at Heathrow. We're seeing him from the back, which for some of us is our most appealing view. Yeah, he's just making a very slight, slow, steady descent towards Heathrow. Now, I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but where he is making that descent, that is a roof light, but above it, just disappearing behind the tree, is potentially a UFO light, and higher still is the plane heading for Heathrow, the conventional plane. Now, I think that was probably the UFO light that was the lower one. Good deal further to the right than he would normally go, and I wonder if he was somehow wary of the conventional plane going over the top and had actually moved away further to the right, well away from under the path of that plane. So as that plane continues to descend towards Heathrow, there's our UFO light, now back on station in the Aldermaston area, having come in from the right. Now disappeared behind a tree, pretty well. Oh no, he is there, but I rather thought that over the gathering point, yes, just in the tree. Got a light. But generally speaking, I think we're just picking up the odds and sods now. I think the evening's main event is over. So, after 48 minutes of recording and at a time of 21:32 hours, shall we say good night? We'll bung this on YouTube, if only for my own education and edification. Cheers for now.